Hi guys, it's Amy with Aim to Plan, and today I am here with my August planner lineup. So I'm actually a little bit discombobulated because I didn't realize that I needed to get my August planner lineup ready for this week. I thought I had another week in July, but apparently not. So if you're familiar with the Happy Planners, you know that the way that the weekly pages operate are that it's basically where the week where more days of that week are. So for next week, it's the 29th, 30th, and 31st of July. That's 3 days in July. And then August 1st through 4th, that's 4 days in August. So that means that part of July is actually in August. Somehow I just missed that. So I need to get set up. I have to get this ready to go. So I'll just say, just in case you hear some noise in the background, I do have my kids at home with me. And so they might just be in and out. They are enjoying their last week of summer break, last couple of weeks. It's like a week and a half left until school starts, which is crazy to me. But anyway, I've got my planners here. I've already like spent most of the morning kind of thinking about my system. And so this is really just kind of showing you how I'm going to like reorganize everything so that way it would make the most sense to me for August. But I do have here two big planners. I don't have any classic in this video, but I do have, for the purposes of just kind of like organizing different specialty planners, I have basically 8 classic size planners, again, not on video, but I'll talk about what they all are in the video. And then I have this cover, which is basically my mini planner that I was using for July. And then I have this planner, which is a kind of like a personal size Bloom daily planner. And then I have this micro setup. And so I'm going to kind of talk to you about everything in here. It's really not going to be a setup video. Well, there might be some setup, but it will be mostly just kind of talking about my lineup and how I'm thinking about restructuring everything. And again, I just didn't want to bring out my classic size planners, but just kind of mentally keep in mind there are 8 classic size planners also in this lineup. So with that being said, I think I'm going to start off with maybe just a quick overview of like what July looked like. So in July, I was using this mini planner. It's kind of a mix of all sorts of stuff. So there's like happy planner pages. I was using happy planner like mini vertical for my monthly, and I actually really loved that. I thought that was like a super fun way of kind of using up these pages. I'm trying to use up my stash here, and so that's kind of why I'm doing this. And then I was kind of for July, it wasn't kind of, I was in July using the mini horizontal pages as like a more detailed weekly page, again, just for events. So monthly and weekly, both for events. And then for this section, the third section, it was just all of these kind of like monthly pages that are just kind of like randomly out of order and just like in here. And so I was using it to take notes, and you can see it's really, really messy. I didn't take notes or like have to-do list every single day, you can see here, but it's just kind of messy. I didn't really love this section, so I'm thinking about like changing this section up, and so we'll talk about that. And then this fourth section was a chore section, which I was just taking notes, and I don't necessarily need that, but it's just nice to have it. And then I was using for a food log these Jane's agenda pages. And so that was working out really nicely. Again, just trying to use up my supplies here. And then lastly, I did have in here initially a budget section, but it didn't actually have expense tracking, which is what I needed. And so I took out the pages, the budget pages that were in here, and I put in these pages that were from the Bloom Daily. I basically just cut it off the coils and punched it for discs, and I was using this for social media, and so that was working out well. My expenses were in here. The rest of it is just like random dividers and stuff like that, so there's nothing else in this planner. And so my micro was where I was keeping my expenses, and I'll do a full flip through of my July pages hopefully at some point in August once the month is actually completely out, but you know, I just use it to track my expenses. And I also have in here like a 2024 planner and a 2025 planner that I use just to track future events. So you can see even in 2025, I've already like put in events for 2025. It's just one of those like pen to paper just to keep track of all of the big events. So that way I don't double myself for anything. And so I just kind of keep this like this with a hair band, like a, what are these, the hair elastics around it, so that way it stays kind of together. And I keep this basically in my purse for on the go. So that's usually when I do expense tracking, and logging future events. And so this right here was basically my personal setup for July. And I also had in July two big planners. So these two big planners, this one is my social media, and what I initially planned for July, let me go into July. What I was planning to do, and I need to maybe zoom out a little bit. So what I was planning to do was use these teacher layout pages, but you can see here I clearly did not do that. And I talked to you in here in this 6th section how I basically converted this planner to be a social media. So I didn't use these pages at all. And so, yeah, that was the original plan, but I didn't do that. I changed that even, in July. And then this one was my work planner. So my work planner is in here somewhere. No, it's actually not in here. So it was set up in here. These are actually current pages that, again, I'm just trying to use up my big size. And so these are August pages, but the July pages look exactly like this. And so one of the things that I ended up doing in July was kind of pulling these pages out. I posted a video a few videos ago, I can't remember which one, but it was talking about my my Sunday basket system and how I'm trying to organize my papers and my closet and the stuff in storage for me. And one of the things I ended up doing was basically setting up these kind of folders. This one's my work folder. This one is like my blue waiting folder, and I'll try to link that video so you can kind of see what it looks like. But this is my folder for work. And so what I ended up doing was basically taking out the current page for the week, and I'm just sticking it in here, and then behind that are some of I basically took all of July. So this is basically all of July, not that page. These 3 pages are the rest of the pages for July. And as soon as I finish kind of using the page, they go back in here. So I'll show you right here. This is July 15th, the left-hand side of July 15th. And it's like this right here. And so once I finished using this page, I just kind of put it back in here. But it was actually nice to kind of have it in here where I'm carrying it around with me and using it. The problem is, it's just so big. It's like a big envelope. There, you can see the pages are kind of loose everywhere. And so I liked doing it for July. I did it for most of July. I would say I started it basically July 6th, 7th-ish. And so I did do that for basically all of my planners, my work planner, and basically any planner that wasn't in here, I put into these envelopes. So this is an example of one of my classic planners. This one is my family planner, and again, I won't pull out the classic planners, but this is the one that I use for, and I've already set it up for next week, but it is my family planner. And so the blue folder in Sunday Basket System is for other people, things that you're waiting for, and so I put my classic size pages in here. And again, it's less so about the categories, but more so about I was pulling the pages out of the classic size planners or out of my big planners, putting them in here, and just kind of carrying these envelopes around with me. And that did work for July. I did enjoy that system, but I don't think that long term that's a really reasonable way of doing it, just because the papers get out of order. It's just a lot to manage like that. And so I've decided, all of this to say, I've decided to kind of reduce the stuff that's in the folders into something that is basically a Franken planner. So I'm going to move back into Franken planning, and so that's what we're going to do. So I did want to, before I jumped into the actual kind of lineup for August, I wanted to talk to you about the classic size planners that I have. And so I've already mentioned right here, these 2 big planners. This is my work and my social media. I consider that work related. And so these planners are my planners that are personal, the things that I do for myself. Of course, it has my personal catch-all, but then these are all the specialty planners that I have. And so these are all classic size. So I've mentioned I have 8. So basically there's a personal planner, that's 1. Faith is number 2. 3 is family. You saw those pages here. Okay, so that's my family planner. 4 is budget. And so I do have a classic size budget planner. 5 is growth, which is personal growth, personal development, that kind of thing. 6 is health. Okay, and those are my 6 personal planners. I also have 2 memory books, one for each of my daughters. So I have a memory book for Rose and a memory book for Sophia. And so those are my planners. This last little note here, it used to be here. I crossed it out, you can see here, and I put it down here again because in just kind of revisiting my July setup, I do have a section in here for chores. So I just wanted to list it here. I don't have a separate planner for that. Chores, I did decide to put into my home binder. So I do have a whole home binder system, which is, a whole separate conversation. I feel like this video was all over the place, but I don't have a classic size planner for chores. For this one, I do eventually move it into my home binder, but it's not one of my classic, what I would consider one of my classic size, like personal planners, right? So for me personally, I do have 6 specialty planners: personal, faith, family, budget, growth, and health, and then 2 memory books, a whole series of home binders that have multiple, like there's 7 different home binders, and then these 2 work planners. So that's a lot. I know it's a lot, but hopefully you were able to kind of follow along how I explained that. So now what we're going to do is basically take a look at this list, because this is what I need to figure out, and also my work and my social media. So that's really my plan here. I don't really change anything about my memory books. I don't change anything about my home binder. I just really need to change this stuff and my work stuff. So that's kind of what this video will be. I decided that I wanted to try to get everything into here. So instead of having these envelopes, these things right here, and just kind of like having these envelopes, I'm just going to make it small, right? And I'm going to reduce it to this mini planner, and just try to get everything in here if at all possible. So just zooming back in a little bit, just so it's a little bit closer. So what I'm going to do is start here at the beginning and just kind of walk through these different sections, and tell you where everything's going to go. So the first one is personal. So for personal, I really enjoyed this monthly and the weekly kind of setup that I had. But for the weekly, let me just show you maybe an example page. Again, I will do a flip through of July in a separate video, but you can see here that for my weeklies, I basically have 1 note for Monday, 2 notes for Tuesday, 1 note for Wednesday. It's basically 1.5/2 notes for Thursday, nothing yet here, and then 1 note for Saturday and 1 note for Sunday. So basically, I just am decorating this just for fun, but I don't write too much in this section. So I don't think this section is really necessary for me to break it down. I really could include all of those notes in the monthly itself. And so what I'm going to do for August is use these pages, these kind of mini vertical pages, and do the same thing that I did for July, where it's like half of August and the other half of August, and just kind of split it up into these 3 weeks where it's dated like this, right? You can see here like that. And I'm going to do that and just put all of my events in these pages, right? So I'll basically get rid of this weekly section, and not have a separate monthly and a separate weekly. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for personal. These notes right here, this is also part of kind of like my personal section. I am going to, I'm just going to continue using this. I feel like I still need this section. I still need this section, even though it's super messy. But I mean, that's the whole point, is like, I need it to be messy. I need to be able to take these messy notes somewhere. So I'm going to leave this section in here. It's not my favorite section, but I am going to leave it. So what I'm going to do is just have the monthly, this monthly with all of my events on it, and then this kind of scratch paper task area. And I'm using, again, like all of these kind of random pages. So that will be my personal section. Now for faith, I was using the like outdated Faith Warrior layout planner, which is like a super old layout, but it matches with 2024. But because I'm, again, not really super taking, I didn't take any notes for faith. I did in July take some notes, but I'm not really taking a ton of notes for faith. What I'm deciding to do is this middle section, the weekly pages right here, that I'm not going to be using for August, I will now use for faith. And so what I'm going to do is right here, this is basically, this is like the 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, right? So I'm going to finish this out for the end of July, and then I'm going to flip a couple of pages so that way this can kind of go together in my personal planner. And then I'm going to start here with my faith section. And of course, these are outdated pages, and so I'll have to like redate and renumber and do all of those things. But for faith, I basically just track what I'm reading, how many chapters, verses I make it through, and then I do a little of like scripture writing, sometimes, not always, but I just do the scripture writing, and so I'm going to just continue doing that. And I think because of the way that the Faith Warrior layout is, it has like it's kind of set up like a vertical, but like you have the vertical weekly, and then in between each weekly you have like sermon notes pages. I might just, because these are like outdated anyway, I might just do the weekly and then flip the page and just take notes here for like Sunday. And so if I need this space, if I don't need the space, then I don't need the space, right? So that's what I'm going to use this weekly section for, is this faith. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. Now for family, I think, well, see, now I'm thinking maybe I should use this for family. I need a spot just to be able to kind of like write notes for family rated stuff. Is maybe something, well, all right, now I'm reconsidering. Okay, I think I'm going to, I do need a spot for tasks though. So, all right, I've got to think about that. But what I'm going to do is maybe for the time being, I just rewind. I'm going to use this front section for personal, just like I was doing. I'll include the tasks here. Okay, I think this will be good. Okay, so I'll put the tasks that were in this third note section, I'll put the tasks on the sidebar. All right, and then the second section will be faith. Right, it will not be a more detailed weekly anymore. It will be faith, and I'll just do my Bible readings, my Bible studies, and my scripture writing in here. And then the third section, this notes section, which I was using for tasks, I will now use just to keep track of family notes. So some of the things I keep for my family is for family and friends. I just like keep track of different text messages that I receive, different Facebook posts that I see. It's just to kind of have a log of like my extended family and some of the things that they might be getting into and just doing. And so I'm just going to use maybe the scratch paper here to do some of that. And so that's what that will be. All right, that's a good change, I think. All right, budget. I do have I do like to have like a monthly budget, and so I will still take those notes in my classic size. But in terms of expense tracker, I was using this as my expense tracker, and I just don't want to change it. So I'm going to continue using the expense tracker pages that are in here in order to do my expense tracking. So that will be the classic size monthly budgeting, as well as my expense tracking in my micro. And so I'll continue doing that. My growth is not a section that I need to have like in my mini planner. So this personal growth is like any leadership trainings that I'm doing, any books that I'm reading, all of that can basically end up in my monthly. And so it can go in here. It can go in here, and I could just track some of the personal growth stuff on the sidebar, just like as a task. So that's what I'm thinking for that. And then health. This health section is the Jane's Agenda pages, and I'm just going to continue using that. So not super changing that section. And so really the only thing that I'm changing here is moving personal, condensing personal to just the monthly, the faith, adding it in here as a mini horizontal, and then using the previous task list and notes section for my family notes. And that's pretty much it. Like budget staying the same. Growth is not a planner I'm going to put in here. Health goes in here just like it did for July. All right. And then I do have the chores section, just like I mentioned. That's not an actual personal planner for me. It goes with my home binder, but I have been using these kind of outdated, or like not outdated, but like these just random guided journal pages for tracking organizational things that I'm doing in my house. And so I'll continue using that. I have a couple more pages of that. And so I'm going to continue doing that. All right. So that's what I'm thinking for my personal lineup. And that should be good right here. All right. And that will be, this basically is it for my personal lineup. All right, there's really nothing else that I'm adding. The only thing that I don't have a place for in here is my growth, right? And so that's all. Now, the thing that I do want to change is going to be these two things, my social media and my work planner. And so I'm going to pull this out because I do need this, right? And what I've decided to do is, again, right here, expenses, and then all the other planners, personal planners. What I've decided to do for my like social media and for my work planner is, instead of staying in the big size, I'm going to reduce it to these super tiny planners, so that way I can have basically this stack right here as my August lineup, right? And so for social media, right, what I was thinking is I'm just going to use this cute little book right here as my social media planner. Now, just as a reminder, I was using this book for social media in July. It is right here. Let me just show it to you. I know this video is all over the place, you guys, but this is just me talking out loud, honestly. But this is kind of what it looked like, where I was just tracking social media, and you can see how little I write, right, for social media. And so I think that moving even smaller for August would be totally fine. I use this, as I've already mentioned, as kind of like a future log, and I just track all the events in the future. But I can definitely just go in and just write in all of the social media posts that I make. So it's basically one video a day if I even record one video. So it'll be a YouTube video and maybe a couple of Instagram posts. So this is plenty of space for me to write that. This is a planner I got from Temu. I will link this in the description so you can get this. It'll be an Amazon link, but this planner I did find, well, actually found the 2025 one, but I found a similar planner, 2025 planner on Amazon, so that way you can see that and be able to just access this if you want it. But I'm going to use this for social media. And so this giant thing can just be retired for the time being and just sit on my desk. All right, and so that's my plan for social media. And then the plan for this one, my work planner, is I'm going to use this thing to be able to track my work notes. Now, for me, the big things is that I need to be able to track my work hours every day, and then also to track all of the events. And then what I think I will do is just, I need a lot more space to kind of write notes, but it's not super necessary. I do work online, and so all of my notes are online. It's just nice to be able to see it on paper. And so really for August, I will just kind of be using this to be able to track the events that I have and track my work hours and just maybe some of the big priorities for the week. And again, the only thing missing for me is going to be the to-do list. And let me just show you an example of this. This might be a big miss for me, honestly, because these are priorities. This section is all priorities. And then I put all my work hours here. Let me flip the thing so it's not glare. I put my work hours here, and then here is just all my meetings. But then you can also see the big section that's missing for me is like right here, this giant to-do list. And so I might really, really miss that. And so if I'm missing it, I'm just gonna maybe put a sticky note in there and just take a list of all of my to-do lists. I don't know how I'll kind of make up for that lack in this tiny planner, but yeah, we will try it, right? The goal here is just to adapt, be able to use my things, but also in August, I feel like I really need to be much smaller and more concise and condensed with what I've got going on. And so this is my plan. And so I forgot a planner. All right, so this is what I've got for my August lineup. I know this was a very long video. It was kind of convoluted. I know I was going back and forth and explaining like multiple different aspects of my system, but I've used the same Franken planning system, multiple planner system for several years now. I would say probably 8 or 9 years. And so, it's something that makes sense to me. Really, the thing that I'm trying to explain is how I'm changing things out, but I don't change the categories so much. I just change things in and out. So that way there's something that I can use for each month. And so hopefully it made sense. If you have any questions about my system, feel free to drop a comment and just ask me the question. I am more than happy to explain anything that I've got going on. It's just me trying to use up my supplies and also just really planning forward for what I need in August. And so this is what I've landed at. And if it doesn't work, then in September, you will see me come back and change it all up again. But just a quick review, this will be my social media planner. My expense tracker will be in here. This will be my work planner for August. And then in here for my personal section, or my personal planner, I'll have my personal monthly, my faith pages, my family planner on these like random monthly layout pages. And then I'll have a chores section that goes into my home binder. All right, so it will be just random notes on and chores / organizational notes that will go into my home binder. I'll have my health log, my food log on these agenda pages, and then this last section will be nothing because this actually will be retired and moved out after the fact. All right, and so that's my entire setup. Hopefully it made sense. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop me a comment. and ask me questions, all that fun stuff. But I think I'm ready to go for August, and I'm glad I got this video done, so now I can get set up for the next month, which is the beginning of school year, which is like so amazing to me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel, and until the next video, bye guys.